done for back there?
Hello again, Ohio Bloodlust here from Good Guy Gaming, and I wanted to talk about video game remasters. I'm sure you guys have noticed the ample amount of remasters the developers are making and selling like hotcakes. But let me ask you this, do you know the difference between a true remaster and a port? Are video game companies mislabeling their games? And how do these so-called remasters affect the gaming community? So let's clear the air and take a look at this fad that's sweeping the video game industry.
I hope you know what you're doing.
Are you kidding me with this guy?
What's the difference between a port and a remaster? Let's look into it. A video game port is where the developer will take an older game and bring it to a newer console. This may also entail some better resolution on textures with some jazzing up of visual effects, light sources, particle effects, and a higher frame rate. Typically, the porting of a game will keep original voice acting, music, and gameplay. Very little work goes into porting a game. My first example of a port is The Last of Us for the PlayStation 4.
Woo! Yeah, baby!
What's up, ladies?
Similar to a port, a remastered game will be playable on the newer generation of systems. However, a video game remaster is significantly different than a port in every other way. The developers will spend time working on new models, along with higher resolution textures and environments. On a remastered game, you will most likely get new updated score, sound effects, and cutscenes. Also, some remastered games will slightly change some of the gameplay mechanics that weren't there in the original game. A remastered game is sometimes referred to as a remake, and my first example of a true remaster is Resident Evil the Remake for the GameCube. Now that we have defined it, doesn't it seem like the gaming companies are kind of mislabeling their games? There are quite a lot of titles and names being thrown out like Remastered or HD Edition or Anniversary. It can be pretty confusing because these words aren't really telling us what kind of work went into the game. And that's kind of what it all boils down to. How much work is actually going into these so-called remasters or ports? We really can't blame them for labeling the game as remasters though, because just calling it a port doesn't really make it that marketable. So I want to show a couple game titles here that are ports. These games were ported to a newer console with very little improvements or work involved. These games will look better than their older versions, but will not compare to the actual newer games that are coming out. And here are the true remasters. The developer really spends a lot of time and money on making these games better for a newer console life. Now wait, how can Wind Waker HD be both a port and a remaster? Well, this is the video game industry after all, and it's never that cut and dry. The truth is, not all games are just simply ports or remasters. Wind Waker HD is mostly a port, but Nintendo not only upped the resolution of the game, they also added a new lighting renderer and added a lot of new gameplay features. So it does kind of qualify as a remaster. I bring up this topic because sometimes I feel like there are some video game companies throwing out the words remastered a bit too liberally. Sometimes it seems like it's a marketing ploy to entice gamers to buy the product. But I'm not saying ports are bad. I love the fact that I can play Ocarina of Time on the 3DS, or that I can play Tomb Raider on my new Xbox One and not have to keep the 360 around. And I think that's cool. But don't fall trapped to the developers labeling everything as a remaster. God of War 3 for the PlayStation 4 isn't a remaster, not even in the slightest, it's a port. But ports do have a purpose. They can provide us with a service. Typically ports are cheaper than normal priced games, and they allow us to play older games on the newer generation of hardware, which may be invaluable to some. How does this affect the gaming community? Well, there's a reason why we are seeing lots of these ports and remasters, and it's because we buy them, plain and simple. Now, is this because the developers are labeling them as remasters but not putting a whole lot of work into it? Or is it because we just like the games? These are good questions, and at least it seems like they're porting games that we like, which is good. The remaster and port trend is still going very strong in this generation of consoles, so keep an eye out, and like with any major purchase, do some research as to what the game has to offer. See what the developer did to make the game next generation worthy. And of course, if it's a game that you love and have no problem spending money on it, then buy it so that you can play it on the new generation of consoles. Leave in the comments below what your opinion is on the remaster trend. Are you into it, or are you annoyed by it? This is Ohio Bloodlust saying thanks for watching. And if you liked this video, feel free to subscribe, comment, and thumbs up. And until next time, good gaming.